Welcome back to the Week 11 edition of my NFL Pick'em. So guys, for the first time in probably 5 years or so, I was not able to watch a good portion of the early games on Sunday live, but I do have a good excuse. My wife's grandmother died, and Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time was the only time that the funeral could be scheduled, so, I had to be there for my family. And I know that I said I'd have my midseason mock draft finished last week, but I had to put it on the back burner while my fam was grieving, and right now I'm just putting a little bit more polish on it, and it should be done before Thursday Night Football this week. But anyways, you can imagine how surprised I was when I got home from the funeral to see some of these lopsided scores, and it wasn't even halftime yet. The Bills, the Browns, the Titans, they were all teams that I didn't even pick to win, but it seemed like they all had comfortable leads, and that just completely blew my mind. I wasn't really excited about the matchups going into last week, but the actual outcomes were quite humbling and really made me question everything that I know about picking these NFL games.
I'm garbage.
This week, however, we get some really good matchups, including 3 primetime games that are all pretty good games. I don't think that we've had 3 good primetime matchups in 1 week since like the beginning of the year, so hopefully I can get back on track here with a good, exciting week of football. Here are the top picks from Week 10 with Math Wizard in the top spot. And these are the leading entries so far in this Pick'em Challenge, with RK Knoll and Alan the God tied for the top spot. These two have been going back and forth for the past few weeks, so this should be a really exciting finish. And if you're looking for another opinion on games, go to the group page here and check out who these guys are picking each week, because they've been killing it all season long. After not moving from 83rd place for 2 straight weeks, this rough week dropped me down to 91st overall. Guys, don't give up on me just yet. We're going to turn this thing around here. And I hope that this isn't getting repetitive, but I got to shout out all of you guys watching this once again, because you continue to show so much support on these videos to the point where I'm literally scheduling my whole week around being able to make these videos, because I want to make sure that I'm holding up my end of the bargain. This week, the goal for likes is going to stay at 500. You guys crushed 500 last week with over 650, but after increasing the goal by 50 each week, it just feels greedy to ask for more at this point. I could not ask for more than what you guys have already done to help me start this YouTube channel, and I've enjoyed making my first sort of consistent series with these Pick'em videos. I really look forward to making these like a tradition each season, and I hope you guys are going to come back for more next year. Jeez, I can't believe we're already talking about next season, but it is week 11 and the regular season only has 7 more weeks. Football season seems to take forever to get here, and it's always gone before you know it. I'll definitely do these Pick'em videos for the playoffs too, but it's just not the same when all 32 teams don't get to play anymore. All right, let's stop talking about the future and enjoy the here and now while we've still got it. On Thursday Night Football, we've got Packers at Seahawks. This one should be fun. Both of these teams have 4 wins right now going into Week 11, and that's not something either organization has really become accustomed to recently. With quarterbacks of this caliber, you always anticipate having better than a 500 record after midseason. It's hard to get a read on the Packers because they've been so up and down. They can go as far as Aaron Rodgers can take them, but he doesn't have a lot of help around him. Luckily, now that the coaches have discovered Aaron Jones is on their roster, maybe they'll try to reestablish a little balance moving forward. The Seahawks also found their first round running back last week, and should look to keep him involved moving forward if they are going to make a run at this thing. This game is such a toss-up, and it's never easy to predict between these two teams because it's always dramatic, like with the touchdown interception thing when we had the replacement refs. If you had asked me at the beginning of the season who is the better team, it would have been an easy answer for me, but at this point in the season, I think that Seattle still has more depth overall. It's also worth noting that Pete Carroll is 5-0 on Thursday Night Football since 2013. Seahawks win 27-24. Next up is Cowboys at Falcons. Speaking of hard teams to get a read on, the Cowboys and Falcons are about as bipolar as they come. The Cowboys got back to their old identity last week against the Eagles, and it resulted in their most efficient offensive performance of the season in the second half on Sunday night. But the last time the Cowboys bounced back offensively like this against the Jaguars, they turned around and fell flat the following week. The Cowboys coaching staff seems to have a foot out the door already, but they keep delaying their dismissal with games like this. After a rough start to the season, the Falcons seemed like they had turned their season around, and they had an easy road trip against the Browns served up to keep them, rolling offensively. But this isn't the same old Browns, and they caught the Falcons slipping early on, and before they realized what was happening, Nick Chubb was busting off 92-yard touchdown runs to basically put this game away. The Cowboys defense versus the Falcons offense might be the obvious matchup to watch here, but the underperforming sides of these two teams is going to be the difference here. The Falcons defense isn't in a good place, but Deion Jones is coming back soon, and he should give them a boost. I don't know, I'm rambling here because I'm trying to talk myself into taking the Cowboys, but the Cowboys have won all the games I've picked against them, and I'm going to continue to ride that jinx. Falcons win 23-21. Bengals at Ravens. The Bengals got exposed by the most complete team in the NFL last week, and I mean they got shredded to the point of firing their new defensive coordinator after just his first year with the team. Terrell Austin seemed like an up-and-coming defensive coordinator in Detroit, but it wasn't translating for this Bengals defense, so they just moved on. What's crazier to me than firing a first-year defensive coordinator is the fact that Marvin Lewis is going to be taking over the defensive coordinator responsibilities. I was less concerned when the Bengals hired Hugh Jackson back as an assistant coach. Say what you want about Hugh Jackson as the Browns head coach, but when he was the Bengals offensive coordinator, he had Andy Dalton looking like a franchise quarterback, and the Bengals offense was humming. Marvin Lewis must be hoping that Hugh can keep the offense afloat while he kind of coordinates the defense, which is something that Marvin Lewis was also really good at before he became a head coach. The Ravens are coming off a bye week, but there's still concerns about Joe Flacco's knee. The Ravens could use that knee as an excuse to give Lamar Jackson a chance to start and see what he's got against the defense that's in transition. I'm hearing that RG3 might get the start, and I'd actually love to see RG3 and Lamar Jackson in the backfield or just on the field together. That could be a really innovative look that would put a ton of pressure on a bad defense. But I doubt that happens for maybe a play or two, if any. Regardless of who starts at quarterback for the Ravens, honestly, I trust the rest of their roster more than I trust the Bengals without AJ Green. Ravens win 30-17. Panthers at Lions. It's hilarious to me how people can overreact to a single game at this point in the season. Like, we haven't seen 8 or 9 games to judge them from already. Especially to overreact to a Thursday night football game where visiting teams not showing up for 60 minutes has been somewhat of a trend. The Panthers had time during the week to script their first drive, and they executed it to perfection. They hit some adversity on the next drive, and then they put their tail between the legs and took the whooping that they had coming their way. Obviously, it's never good to get whooped like that. And I know there's a stat somewhere out there that says no Super Bowl winning team has ever suffered a loss by like 30 points or something like that. But I'm not writing them off as a potential playoff team at this point. If there's a team that you need to face to get things back on track, it's this Lions team. The Lions used to be able to rely on their offense to dominate, mostly using their passing game. I'm not sure if the extra emphasis on the running game has disrupted the flow of Matthew Stafford or whatever's going on there, but things are just not right in Detroit right now. I think that the Panthers respond in a big way. Panthers win 28-16. Titans at Colts. The Titans are just another Jekyll and Hyde team to add to the list this year. Their offense has been holding them back for weeks, and maybe I'm just harboring some saltiness because I had such high expectations for them coming into the season, and my fantasy teams have suffered at the hands of Derrick Henry and Corey Davis. But their defense is the best in the league right now and will keep them in every game for the rest of the year. All the Titans offense really has to do is be a middle of the pack unit, and they have a chance to take this division over. The Colts, however, have been getting incrementally better every single week, and they finally put it together for 60 minutes against the Jaguars. This game here is going to be really important in the race for the AFC South moving forward. The Texans have won 6 straight and seem to be firing on all cylinders at this point, so the loser of this game is basically going to kiss their division chances goodbye, and even a wild card shot is going to be kind of a pipe dream at that point. The Tennessee Patriots, they won their Super Bowl last week, and then I think that they might have a letdown this week, similarly to the letdown that they had after beating the Eagles in overtime in week 4 and then losing to the Bills in week 5. Colts win 21-17. Buccaneers at Giants. Buccaneers head coach Dirk Cutter actually admitted to taking over the Bucs play calling last week against the Redskins. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken had actually been doing really well early in the season, and I think stripping him of this was a little premature. The Bucs did put up almost 500 yards of offense against a pretty good defense, but they only scored 3 points. The red zone play calling cost the Bucs in this game, and if he doesn't get it right against the Giants this week, I think he should go ahead and own it and just give the play calling back to Monken. The Giants managed to beat somebody in a game where I think the majority of the country was actually rooting for the 49ers, mostly because California had such a rough week with the shooting and the fires that are just devastating the state right now. So good timing to show up, Eli. If you look at Eli's stat line, it looks like he had a great game, but he missed quite a few throws, and this game shouldn't have even been close, honestly. The Giants did still win, but it was like putting a band-aid over a bullet wound because Eli still can't get it done, guys. Jason Pierre-Paul comes back to New York this week, and I honestly hope that he wrecks this offensive line and kind of punishes the Giants for shipping him out like he was part of the problem. This is one of those games I was talking about a couple weeks ago. It is a lot harder to predict these games between two bad teams, and because you just never know which version of either team is going to show up any given day. I still don't trust Eli to get it done again, so I'm going to go with the Fitz Magic making a comeback. Bucs win 34-27. Texans at Redskins. The Texans have won 6 straight and are coming off of their bye week. In that 6-game stretch, their red zone and defensive issues have just faded into distant memories. Winning 7 straight is no easy task, even with a break, and especially when you're going to need to put up points against one of the better defenses in the league. This Alabama defense of the Redskins has 3 players that played in the national championship, where Deshaun Watson had his Vince Young Rose Bowl performance and gave Bama a rare defeat. That really won't have any impact on the game, I just thought it was interesting, but best believe that Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Ryan Anderson will all vividly remember that feeling he gave them, and will dig in a little harder this week to shut Watson down. The Redskins have been pretty consistent compared to a lot of the other teams in the league that I've knocked for being so inconsistent so far. I saw a stat that the Redskins have had no lead changes in all of their games this season. That basically means that the Redskins have scored first in all of their 6 wins and held on to that lead throughout, and vice versa in the 3 losses. Bye week could have the Texans a little rusty coming out, and I think the Redskins jump out to an early lead on them and stay true to this random stat here. Redskins win 26-21. Steelers at Jaguars. The last time we saw the Steelers, they were putting up a 50 burger on the Panthers. And while I said we shouldn't overreact to that result, I just think it shows the offensive potential for this team. The steel curtain days are a thing of the past, and the Steelers have adapted well to today's NFL. That's what makes them such a great organization. Meanwhile, the Jaguars aren't playing awful football right now, but they're just not playing well enough to win. The Jaguars defense is still 3rd in the NFL, but Jalen Ramsey sent out a pretty direct tweet after their loss to the Colts about not wanting to re-sign with the Jaguars when he's a free agent. Pair that with some of their guys getting arrested in London, and it's just not a good look for how things are going in that locker room right now. Everything about this game says that the Steelers could drop 40 on the Jaguars, and this is about as trappy as a trap game gets. I don't know why, but I haven't really gone on a ledge for a while, and I'm feeling like an upset here. Leonard Fournette was not going to be back to 100% his first game back. We all knew that. But now he's got a game under his belt, and I think back to the 2 games last year, one in the regular season and then in the playoffs, and how the Jaguars just had the Steelers number. I almost made it a whole week without mentioning him, but the finality of this Le'Veon Bell situation contributes to a letdown by the Steelers. Jaguars win 24-23. Alright, I've gone into way too much detail in those previous games. Let's go ahead and do some rapid fire here. Raiders at Cardinals. Despite losing to the Chargers, I think that was one of the better games played by the Raiders this season. That's not a compliment, it's a testament to how bad they've been all year, and it sounds like guys are getting fed up in the locker room. The Cardinals just held the Chiefs to their lowest offensive output all season, and I'm not a fan of moral victories, but that's about as good of a sign as Cardinals fans could hope for at this point. Here's another one of those bad team matchups that I don't feel very confident about, but the Raiders are barely showing signs of life right now, so I've got to take the hungrier team. Cardinals win 28-13. Broncos at Chargers. It's crazy to me that these 2 teams haven't played yet this season, so the Broncos are going to get 2 cracks at the Chargers over the last month or so of the season. The Chargers didn't look great against the Raiders considering the opposition, but you could argue that was a trap game and they just handled their business. I still really like the Chargers as a sleeper team to make some noise in January, and I don't see too much to get excited about in Denver other than their rookies making a big impact to give them pieces to build on for the future. Chargers win 31-17. Eagles at Saints. The Super Bowl champs are still hungover, and I don't think that Golden Tate was enough to get them out of their funk. They could come into this game against the Saints and make a statement, but the defense is just not even close to the Super Bowl caliber, and their secondary is way too depleted to stop Michael Thomas and Drew Brees. The Saints are the best team in football right now, and I don't think that they've even peaked yet. They keep rolling here. Saints win 34-24. On Sunday Night Football, we've got Vikings at Bears. The Vikings are coming off a bye and have been one of my favorite teams all season. I really like the way that they're built, and I expect them to be a Final Four team in the NFC. But this is the chance the Bears have been waiting for. They get the best team in their division, talent-wise, in my opinion, and they get them on a national stage to show how balanced they actually are on both sides of the ball. And every time we've seen Khalil Mack in primetime this year, he has put on a show. The Vikings' biggest weakness is their offensive line, and if Mack gets going, he could single-handedly wreck this Vikings proficient passing game. I think the Vikings are the superior team, like I said, but the primetime setting in the cold, windy Chicago is setting up for a statement. Bears win 27-20. And then finally on Monday Night Football, we've got Chiefs versus Rams. Here it is, the game of the century. The NFL won't be able to hype this game enough leading up to Monday. I mean, ESPN led off the Giants 49ers Monday night game with a promo for it, basically like them saying, hey, we know this is not an interesting matchup, but we finally got a good one coming up next week, we promise. And they're not lying. This is going to be the first half season Super Bowl, basically. This could be a look at the NFL's ideal game for the next 20 years with these 2 prolific offenses, and then the defenses that just try to get in the way. Adding to the intrigue of this game was the fact that it was supposed to take place in Mexico City, but the field there is apparently in such rough shape that they might not be able to withstand an American football game. The NFL always leaves Wembley Stadium in a bad shape because these soccer fields aren't meant for 350-pound men to be pushing each other around for 60 minutes. At the time of posting this video, I haven't heard any of the alternate sites for this game yet. As far as the X's and O's goes that will determine this game, it's going to come down to who can just make the most stops on defense. The Rams have the best defender in the game, if not the NFL, and I think that Aaron Donald will be the difference maker here. Rams win 44-37. Get ready, this one's going to be fun. That's going to do it for week 11. Once again, thank you guys for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. Good luck to your teams this week. Keep an eye on Alan the God and RK Knowles picks, see how they're doing. Stay tuned for my midseason mock draft coming out this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, and I will see you guys in the next video.